It's still spinning, saying, going like, we are live, apparently.
Now we're live.
Now we're live.
Now we're live.
Hi, everyone. I hope I think there's people joining us for sure.
But Mia,
Yeah,
this
it
gets
is.
recorded and then it goes somewhere and people can watch it.
Yeah, and we're gonna have this recorded in the YouTube after it happens. So on YouTube, it'll automatically pop up. But thank you, Jess and Candace, for joining Becca and I today.
Yay!
I'm so excited. For those of you who don't know, Candace is an amazing mountain biker based out of Arkansas. She lives close to Jess, I believe, right? You guys ride the same trails?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I don't know who that person is.
Oh yeah.
We are friends. We're friends.
You are friends?
We live, I don't know, I think 30 minutes away from each other.
Yeah, not far.
But you guys do the same trails and stuff, right? You ride pretty much the same stuff out there.
Yeah, we ride.
Dude, I gotta say though, I had the biggest Bentonville.
Oh,
because
same.
everyone was over there. You sent me a photo of you and Mark. Everyone's like dropping the hammer, and I'm sitting here like pathetically in my.
Well, you gotta just come, and then we can drop the hammer when y'all get here. Coming, Becca.
Honestly, I don't know if I'd have the guts to do it.
We will look at it.
We'll see. If not, though, there's a ton of other good stuff to ride there. So we'll be there. That was the one benefit about being injured and seeing the FOMO. Was like, well, can't ride it anyway. So send it, ladies.
There are a lot of other trails that are, and other drops we can work on too.
If you come down, Mia, and hit it, it might encourage me a little more to try it. So.
All right, girl. The two of us have to do it together. Okay, how about we make a pact?
Oh,
we'll
God,
do it together.
You're gonna hold me to that?
You're gonna hold me to that?
Whenever I hear someone put it together, like
tandem. We'll have Jess tow us, the three of us in. How about that?
Yes.
Perfect.
Let's go.
Well, welcome to everyone just tuning in. I see that Johnny's on the chat, Mountain Bike Q&A, and Steve, my buddy out of Colorado. Steve had a little bit of a crash recently too, but he's doing good. He's doing good. So everyone knows Jess Hanna, the amazing Jess the Maker, hilarious content creator. We introduced Candace and Becca, as always, the amazing co-host who's always around and helping me with everything. She keeps me in check. I love Becca. And she's coming to visit me next month, so I'm really excited.
Oh,
so Candace, I was telling you earlier, I've had some people ask me how you're doing because you had a pretty gnarly crash. Was it in Southern Arizona, Tucson? Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't even make it to Sedona.
Well, you did, but you didn't ride with us.
Didn't ride there, yeah.
You poor thing.
Not many of us rode in Sedona as it was because of the weather anyway. So
that's right.
Snowdona.
It was Snowdona. So
yeah.
We're gonna see if anyone's if they're gonna change it to the fall or next spring or next fall. That's TBD. But how are you feeling? So okay, let's start a little bit. Tell us about your crash. Like what happened?
So I mean, basically, I feel bad. Jess has to hear this dang story all the time, but
okay.
That's what friends are for.
She's reliving it every time I relive it. But yeah, I mean, I was out with is it the Tucson lady shredders that we just like kind of put a ping out to a whole bunch of ladies out there, and we got to meet a whole bunch of amazing women, and we were riding all these trails that were really fun. And I was actually doing a lot of like big boulders that we don't have here in Northwest Arkansas. I was doing a lot of that.
And doing great.
And I mean, and actually like feeling a little confident on them and, you know, doing all the big rock rolls and stuff. So, but we actually started to descend and head back to the car, and I got hooked up on a rock. And so I got a little disconnected from the group, and I could still hear them. I just couldn't see them anymore. And I'm approaching, it's kind of a flowy line at this point. I'm approaching what looks like a tabletop.
Okay.
And I mean,
sorry, this is blind, right? You're riding this trail like completely blind. You've never done this before.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I approach it. I think it's a tabletop. And yeah, I assumed that. And I just go to hit it. And as soon as I hit the lip, I realize it's a gap jump. And I definitely didn't have, one, the skills for that, two, the speed to make it. And so, I mean, definitely midair, I knew I was totally screwed. I was like, brace for impact.
No.
Like That's all that I could do. So basically,
You poor thing.
yeah, I clipped the front tire, kind of clipped the edge of the trail, so didn't really make it, and then just flew and landed direct on my face and head. And
Oh.
I just remember rolling over and like staring at my feet and being like, move your body. Because I thought for sure, I was like, you're going to break something. This is it. This is the one. It's going to take you down. You're going to break something. I moved everything. Like I said, I thought I could hear Jess and them still writing. So I just yelled out for her. And then when I yelled, unfortunately, all this blood flew out. And so then I knew it was bad. And I could feel the heat on my face at that point. So I knew I was like, okay, I've really jacked up my stuff. And then the adrenaline starts and the shaking starts. So I'm struggling to get my phone out of my Camelback. So I basically just yelled at Siri to call my friend Jess, and through the Camelback, it somehow works. And yeah, it called her, and I was like, so yeah.
Jeez. Okay. Well, I'm putting her Instagram on the screen for those of you who are watching. Be warned, there's some gory images. So don't look at the screen if you don't want to. But Candace was awesome enough to share this, and there's Jess in the ER with her, and I'm gonna scroll through here. Let's see. Am I on the right page? Forgive me, guys. I'm new at doing this.
You're doing great.
The poor thing. Look at her getting all stitched up. Okay, so you guys went to 2 ERs, right? Is this the first or the second ER?
That's the second one.
Yeah.
Well,
oh God.
Candace had to get, there's only a few doctors that could perform that, the face, the exterior laceration.
You poor thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The exterior laceration, any ER doctor could, stitch that up, but the inner, like inside her mouth, she had separated the inside. Anyway, it's separated. And so there's only a few doctors that can perform that kind of a stitch up. And it's like an ENT doctor, a plastic surgeon, and there was some other kind of doctor. I forget.
Mm-hmm.
And Becca.
Wow.
I don't know about that, but so they needed to make sure that they had that type of doctor there. Well, they didn't have that at the first ER. And that nurse, that was an interesting situation because poor Candace was sitting there and the original nurse was kind of like, checking this and getting all the stuff to get her ready to get stitched up. And Candace is like, I taste a lot of blood like in my mouth. I wonder if I have some cuts in there. And so
a little cut on my lip, like there's
so
stuff.
Then the nurse is like, I'll check. So she opens Candace's lip and her face goes from like calm to not calm. Her face is like, and my face goes, and Candace is looking at me and I'm like, and then immediately the panic starts to set in and the nurse is like, I'll be right back. And we were like,
yep.
What? We'll be right back. What? And then Candace is like, I need the drugs.
Yeah,
I need the drugs right now.
That nurse walked out of there and I told Jess, I was like, I've been cool this whole time and I am not cool anymore. I need some Xanax. I need something Pinot Grigio. I don't know what it is. I'm not cool anymore. Because I honestly, I felt relieved when we got to the ER and they took me to the back. So I'm like, oh man, they're going to clean me up. We're going to get out of here and just wrap up this shitty experience and move on. And no, it just seemed to just evolve and get worse because then I had to be, they said transferred. And I was like, by ambulance? Like, I didn't understand. I was like, this is like a bad busted lip, right? Because still no one was telling me what was happening in my mouth.
Poor thing.
So, seems like a bad busted lip. But anyway.
So then Jess drove you to a different ER, and that's where you got stitched up.
Yes. There was an ENT that they called in, to come and do the stitching on the inside of my mouth. But yeah, so basically I guess when I fell, like my lip rolled down. So as I slid, all that meat just kind of got ground up. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. That's what we're here for. We've got some people in the comments.
Yeah. And I mean, and honestly, at the first ER, because I was getting really nauseous, And they kept telling me it's because I was swallowing so much blood. So apparently that's a thing, or concussion. I don't know, whatever. But I was like, can I just have some water? And I drank the water and I spit it out everywhere because it burned like none other. And that's when she finally checked the inside of my mouth because I kept telling her there was something going on. And so, yeah, like when we finally got to the second ER, that's when they told me that like the jawbone was out and so was the mental nerve, which I've now learned is like the nerve that causes feeling to your chin. So that was exposed. So yeah. And I mean, so like ice cold water touched that, and that's why I was just like, oh my god, like,
it burns. Well, because your nerve is like,
oh, you poor thing. I've got some people in the comments saying that those were some Joker wounds. Like Joker.
I did in fact think I jokered myself. So
you jokered yourself. That's a good. We need to hashtag that. Every time we do a crash, we're gonna joke.
You want to know how I got these scars? That'll be the new. Like, anytime you send it, that'll be the new way to say it.
Yeah.
So, how many stitches did you end up having, Candace?
I think there was like 20 total or something. So like most of them were in the mouth, and then I think
That's
like 6 up top. Yeah. So it was pretty much like tooth to tooth at the bottom, like canine to canine, I think on the bottom that was sewed back. So
there's some Joker vibes there then for sure. Like, you know, that's legit.
Yeah, but girl, you got some high pain tolerance too, because it was a while from the time you had the injury to when you finally got stitched up and numbed and stuff, right? Like it had been a few hours.
Oh yeah. Once I got my meds, it didn't feel like I didn't even know what time it was anymore, but yeah.
Adrenaline is a hell of a drug. Oh my god.
I was like, okay, let's get this partied on. So
the other day you posted something on Instagram, and it was a little piece of your jawbone. Like, is that a thing? Like, what? I think I even sent that to Becca, and Becca made an amazing comment. Becca's like, we're the best 3D printers. Our bodies are so amazing. And I'm like, of course, an intelligent nurse would like say that. But
yeah, Becca, have you heard of sequestra? Like being in the like medical field? Like,
well, I mean, your body is basically always just trying, as soon as your body undergoes an injury, your body's trying to fix it and repair itself. And sometimes it lines up right. Sometimes it's like, a little bit here, a little bit there. We'll just patch her back up. She's good to go. But it's pretty amazing, you know, like it like what our body is trying to do on its own while we're just like, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah.
So I was definitely like, oh, that's epic. I mean, it was not epic for you, but
they don't
from a medical side point.
Now that I know what it is, I'm, you know, and it's not like tooth decay or something, because I'd be freaking out if my teeth just start falling out of my mouth. But
like a bad dream. Yeah.
But yeah, like that's the third one that actually came out that I posted.
Wow.
And yeah, I think I'm gonna get like a little like bottle. I'm gonna keep my bone fragments.
Call them your mountain bike teeth, you know, just call them your, you know, like just keep them, or even like put them in your pack. You know, they jingle, they shake a little bit. Like they're just my mountain bike bones. They're just my mountain bike teeth. It's okay.
A little bit before I hit a jump.
Like okay. Dice. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Carry them with you in your fanny pack. Just bring them with you the whole time.
Yeah. Or a necklace. Yeah, Jess, a necklace.
You're muted, Jess. Hold on. I don't know why you got muted.
Nope.
How did that happen? Technical difficulties, people.
Oh,
I didn't mute you. There we go.
She's the one that's got the most experience out of all of us.
I was getting muted.
Jess,
did I mute myself?
You.
I didn't.
You know, I don't know what I'm doing. No, yeah, Candace, you should put all of your little bone fragments in a little vial and wear them around. You know, wear them around town.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, Steve, my buddy Steve just commented and he said, who needs a trail bell when you have a jar of bones on your stem?
Bones.
Exactly.
Like, bones are great.
What a conversation starter. Oh, what a cool necklace. They're my bones that I spit out of my mouth.
When poor Candace came up to me, well, when I finally got to Candace when she was first injured, and so this is good advice for those of you who are with a friend that gets injured.
Ooh, that is good advice. Yes.
Is when you see your friend and they ask you, are all of my teeth there? You just say yes. You don't need to answer that.
So you
much.
lie.
Yeah. Well,
You don't guess. You don't count.
She's there. And I was like, yes, they are. And guess what? We're going to the hospital now. Like, she was like, okay.
Hey,
Like, okay.
we're going to check out this trail. Happens to be this way. There's a hospital right by it. Let's go.
Well, it was funny because I think I texted you, Jess, and I was like, hey, when are you guys getting to Sedona? Let's try and ride before the snowstorm comes in. And I just remember you saying, I'm in the ER with Candace right now. And I was like, what happened, you poor thing? But hey, I'm so glad to see you, Candace, and to see that you're doing well. Because when we were hanging out, even when we were doing the podcast with Mark, this segment, we were hanging out with a bunch of people. They were making us laugh. And I know Jess was making you laugh like the whole time.
Yeah.
And the poor thing, you're just like, don't make me laugh.
Oh, man. Yeah, those stitches were so fresh and tight. So every, like, if I smiled or laughed, I was just like, oh.
And it's like my one superpower, like, is making people laugh. And I wasn't allowed to do that. So I was like, just don't say anything. Just shut your mouth. Can't laugh right now.
Yeah,
that was so good.
Yeah.
Well, so how are you feeling now in terms of riding? Have you gotten back up on the bike? Like, how have you ridden your local trails? How's that going?
Yeah, I mean, I stayed off the bike, I think around 3.5 weeks. I was determined to get back on the bike because I knew if I didn't, and I sat there and thought about the trauma that I experienced, it was gonna make me not want to get back on the bike. Right. So, and Jess was with me on my first ride too. And I was a bit jittery, and like I'm putting my foot down in places where I would probably just ride over. Just the jitters were there. And I mean, I still had the stitches in my mouth. They stayed in there for like 2 months. So like, it's like I had a constant reminder, even while riding, that I was still recovering basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like, God forbid I fall on my face again while all those stitches are still in there. Like it just, but, I'm just kind of getting my tires back off the ground too. Like I was definitely more willing to do drops and jumps previously. And those were skills I was still working on. Mm-hmm. And then, definitely the crash kind of pushed me back a lot because it's almost like I don't trust that it's not going to happen again. I'm not going to just slide right on my face anymore. So there's some part of like, you just got to find the courage and the resilience to just to push through that. Because like biking brings me so much joy. I'm not going to give it up, and I have to keep going. But yeah, like I got humbled that day. So, and it's sticking with me a little bit. So,
I mean, it is a tough thing, right? Because all joking aside, it's a really gnarly experience that you have. And not a lot of us have those types of experiences. I mean, we all have crashes. We all have injuries that sets us back. And some of us require surgery. I think in hindsight, you were super lucky that wasn't the case, but still sucky that now your mental state is different, right? But do you find that you're going to change the protection that you wear? Because nothing you could do about it. Full face, half shell, it doesn't matter. You would have hurt yourself. You would have been an injury. It does regardless. But now, do you feel more confident if you were to wear full face just on a regular trail without being like a bike park or something gnarly?
I think so. I mean, I do know that like the neck injury things are like possible just because of how like that thing comes out, right? So like it's supposed to kind of flip your head up a little bit. Yeah. But I mean, honestly, that happened to me anyway, because when I hit my head on the ground, like my neck popped me up, and I'm doing acupuncture and massages for all of my whiplash. That is still very much a thing. That's kind of like the last little bit of the crash that I'm working on neck wise. So yeah, I mean, but I feel like if you have the gear, just wear the gear, so I do pack my full face. It's getting hotter down here, so it's a little harder to wear. But yeah, depending on what I'm doing, most of the time I'll probably have my full face on if we take on some bigger stuff, but obviously I will always have a helmet on. So
regardless. I mean, you need to have a helmet on regardless. I one time just went to take a picture of something. I don't know what I was doing. I was just sitting on my bike and I sent it to my friend, and the first thing she said, she was like, "You need to be wearing a helmet." And I was like, sorry, I forgot. You're right.
It's
sorry.
so wild how many times, like how many people I notice now that are on trail not wearing a helmet. And I just want to show them a video of like my helmet in 2 pieces and what my
Mhm.
face looked like. Because honestly, my head was like there wasn't a scratch on it. Like the helmet blew up in 2, but
That's amazing.
that's what it was supposed to do. But yeah, like my head was like all fine. It was just everything else that didn't have protection on it that got totally jacked up. So
Yeah. So no other injuries like to your shoulder, knee, elbow, whatever. You were fine
no,
there.
no, I think about it all the time. I'm like, not a scratch anywhere else. I think I literally like levitated above the ground and just like like dug my face down, and then my body just flopped.
Her face stopped. Her face stopped.
Yeah, it just
Your face stopped the crash, like sliding into home base. Just that took all the impact. Oh my gosh.
Nothing. Yeah.
Well,
Basically.
I'm so stoked that you're doing better though. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. That's so good. And like I said, I've had people ask me about you, so I'm glad. I was like, we need to have Candace on the podcast and talk about this injury. And I'm stoked that you're going to start riding again. You still on your Rocky Mountain?
I do love my Rocky Mountain. I am looking for something with a little bit more travel to it. But you know, in time, I mean, I weigh like 110 pounds. So my 120 travels really like, it's very rare, even on the chunky stuff that I bottom out or anything. So
yeah,
it's fine. And it weighs light enough for me to like climb really well with it.
Oh,
so
nice.
And that's the thing. It's all about how you feel. It's not about like what someone says, oh, you need this bike or whatever. Like you feel great out there.
Yeah.
That's
well,
awesome.
And if you come to Northwest Arkansas too, like you gotta like work to get up to the downhill parts a lot of the time. Like we don't have shuttles here. Well, we have shuttles in some spots, but like we don't have ski lifts or anything like that. So yeah, it's like you gotta climb it if you want to go down it. So
this is why I'm getting an e-bike. No.
Best purchase I've made, let me tell you.
Yeah, Becca just got an e-bike.
Oh, nice.
No regrets. No regrets. So good.
Living that life.
So hey Jess, how did you feel when all that happened with Candace? I mean, I'm sure it was a little scary, right? Like
definitely scary, especially when it's your friend. And we were on a road trip and I was like, oh no, our road trip was going so well. And then all of a sudden it is not going well. But more concerned because I knew like Candace was really stoked to just be out there riding her bike and taking time off of work and coming along with me on this road trip. And so, you know, I was more just like as a friend, you know, so, but I also know that, you know, knew she was a champ. And like I had even said, hey, like, cause we had plans to go see one of her friends in Phoenix that we were actually supposed to go see her friend in Phoenix that night. We were literally just stopping to ride at 50 year on the way back to Phoenix. And so that was no longer happening because we needed to go to the ER. So I had to get in touch with her other friend and say, hey, so we're not going to see you tonight, but we're maybe going to see you the next night. And so plans had to change and it was fine. It ended up working out. And, you know, Candace still, I handed to her. She was like, no, I still want to go to Sedona, still want to go to the festival and walk around. And she was all stitched up and swollen.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Great.
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to like New York Fashion Week, right? Like I was.
I mean, if you're ever going to be somewhere where people are going to understand and they're going to support you, that's where it's going to be.
Totally.
Yeah, and so it's going to be fine. I won't be the only banged up person there. So
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah,
you're
go.
Sorry, Jess. Go ahead.
On my couch.
Luckily, our friend Hillary, who spends part-time here in Bentonville and part-time in Tucson, she was still there with our other friend Shay, and so we were able to have a place to like stay that night, and they even came to the second ER and like helped with everything too. So it was nice. We had like we had a crew, like and our friend Hillary, that footage, that wasn't me. Surprisingly, I know I did a lot of footage. Our friend Hillary she's a photographer, videographer, and she had no shame. Like the doctor was like, yeah, go ahead. I don't care. And so like, bam. And she's like in there getting all the angles. Luckily,
I think
pretty doped up by then. So she had no idea. And so we have a lot of good footage from her getting stitched up. And so
I actually think Hillary is watching because Hillary just commented and said, because we were talking about your bottles, like putting your bones in like your bottles in a rattle, and someone said, "Don't encourage her because she will." So I don't know if that's your friend Hillary that you're talking about.
Yep, that's Hillary. Yep.
Don't need encouragement, Hillary. I'm gonna do it.
I kind of love it. I don't know. I kind of love it. It's pretty metal, you know, like.
You know what though? Speaking of e-bikes, that really is like the up and coming thing. People try to hate on e-bikes, but I tried one and I burnt a ton of calories on that thing. I got to say,
Man.
You get more
and
laps in.
yeah,
Well,
you get more laps in.
You're still
They
working.
well, yeah, the one I tried was really heavy. It was like 60 pounds. Definitely wouldn't buy that. But it was so much fun. And for the first time ever, I beat Lauren up a climb. And I got up a climb. And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting and I'm like looking down the trail and I'm like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Shut up." Like, she thought she heard an e-biker coming up behind her and was gonna like, scare her. And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I got here before you." And she's like, "Yeah, first time, huh?"
I
Whatever.
will say
I think-
having an e-bike since returning from my injury, and we can talk about that, whatever, like people that have been on with us, they know that I've been recovering from my ACL, and I was able to get an e-bike, and being back out there after being off the bike for 7-ish months, I was so behind everyone that I used to ride with. And these are places like what you guys were saying, kind of like in Arkansas, like you have very pedal heavy, like you gotta pedal to get to the fun spots. Had I just jumped right in and tried to pedal along with all my friends, I would have been miserable. I would have been beating myself up. I think I would have really been very like negative on myself of, "Oh my God, you're so behind. And look at you. You can't even ride this, that, or the other." And that's just what I know. It doesn't make it right, but that's, I think, where I would fall in line with that competitiveness within myself. Getting this e-bike, you even turn it down to whatever power level you're comfortable to.
Yeah.
You get up those climbs just to be comfortable. And that in and of itself, the confidence it provides. Oh, I was blown away.
Yeah.
I love it. My opinion has changed on the man. I love it.
I mean, 50-pound bike falls on you though. Like Mia, you said that bike, that would freak me out, right? Like
they're large, they're heavy, but I will say navigating them and trying to like jump them and stuff, they feel great. They feel very nimble.
Yeah.
That's what happened with me about me, because I did have an e-bike on loaner and I went to try, like, when you go and you like lift your back wheel and do like just like a little whip and you come back down. So I tried doing that on the 60-pound e-bike and the bike didn't move. So I landed like on my knee. It turns out I have bursitis, which is fine. And then I was riding this weekend. I did a bunch of climbing this week. It was so much pain. So I'm looking at my wife and I'm like, "I think I need an e-bike as well." And then someone in the comments just said,
yes.
Sonia said, "La la la, I can't hear you," says my wallet. Yeah, that's about right. What my wife was saying. She's like, "La la 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 la, I can't hear you. You don't need an e-bike."
It was definitely one of those N+1 that I didn't originally like equate for. Like I've always had my N+1 like quiver lineup, and e-bike was never originally part of it. And then I had a chance to ride one, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, we got to add one."
Pretty great.
That's it, done.
Jess, I know Tony has an e-bike. Does he use that a lot?
Oh, he loves that thing. Oh yeah, it's kind of leveled the playing field with him and I, because like I'm the one who's a little more endurance-y.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I don't consider myself like an endurance person, but he loves just that. He also, I should also mention, when he was younger had like a like underdeveloped lungs. So he's an asthma, so he had a really hard time breathing, and just so anything that gets his like heart rate up and he starts to breathe a lot. So the e-bike actually really helps him just like sustain all of that.
Yeah. Was that one of the excuses that Joe put on his gloves?
I think
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
So, yeah. But I want like as soon as I got on an e-bike, my first time riding an e-bike, really riding an e-bike aside from like testing one in a parking lot, that was like too big for me. My first time riding an e-bike was here in Bentonville. I did the entire back 40 loop with a couple people.
Yeah.
And yeah, that sold me. I was like, okay, yeah,
Mhm.
I can see why people like doing this. This is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
So
yeah.
I know Becca she, for those of you who don't know, she mentioned it a little earlier. She had a really gnarly ACL tear. She had to have surgery. She hasn't ridden in 8 months. She's just recently got an e-bike, which is awesome. But
Mhm.
she's coming out for Sky Park next month to support the Ride and Shine that we're doing. And I'm trying to get us each an e-bike so her and I can do like some fun little laps at Sky Park with some e-bikes. I think that should be super fun.
I'm stoked.
If you guys are listening in the comments, write down what e-bike you think we should try and get, because I have some ideas. So Tony has a decoy. That's on my
There
list.
we go.
So we'll see.
Transition repeater. Definitely get one of those. I would try that.
Ooh, I need to hit up Angie.
Okay.
We'll
And
see.
I have
We'll
a
see.
I have a specialized turbo levo, and I
Ooh,
adore
is
it.
The SL, is the light one?
no, it's
Okay.
the full rocket. The full rocket. And the great thing about it is you can scale it back. You can make adjustments to all the different power levels. And I got an S2, which is a little bit on the smaller size for me normally because I'm about 5'6", 5'7". So their S2 is kind of slightly smaller, but I still fit within that range. And I wanted to go smaller because there's a big bike. It's like 50 pounds. It's a big bike.
Yeah.
And I love it because when I accidentally did a lap, I did all the climbing with the motor on and everything, and then I accidentally turned it off. So I did this kind of like fun little rolly descent, berms, a couple hops and tables and stuff, little pedal spots. Here I am thinking, you are so out of shape that this e-bike can't even help you. And it turns out I had the motor off. So and I'm just thinking like, I am so screwed.
How do you it's like, how do you know you've never ridden an e-bike without knowing you've never ridden an
that's
e-bike?
the thing, because on this segment, and not to be, and like, just to give relevance, anyone that knows, Strava, whatever, you've got your KOM and top, whatever. I still have a top 10 placement of like all time in this segment, right? So I've got my top 10 segment. I know what it feels like to pedal this segment. I still can't make it. And I'm like, cool, you're done. You're done. You can't make it with an e-bike. You're done. Just go. Just whatever.
Yeah.
It's over. It's over. It's over.
Give it up.
And I get to the bottom and I'm like, oh my God, like, what is this? What's happening? And I look and like the motor's turned off and I'm like, oh. That's pretty fun then. Okay. All right. That was actually pretty good. Like,
Sorry, Becca, that's hilarious.
That was actually pretty fun. That was actually pretty great. But because, man, did it whip around those corners and it got me through those berms and the jumps. The pedaling with it off sucks. But, all right, user error. But I'm a fan.
It seems like everyone, for the most part, people who have commented, they have specialized as well. The Levo.
I love it. And I'm not, and again, I'm not like, I'm not sponsored. I wasn't this was something that like I chose to get. So it's not like I'm like plugging anything by saying this. My other bike is a Trek. So there you go. Got 2 brands on either sides of it.
Equalize it.
Yeah.
E-bikes, man, I think they're really like bringing injured riders like to a level playing field of returning to where maybe their confidence can be to take off. And I'm here for it.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it helps those with injury. Jess, I know you had an injury to your hand. Is that right?
Oh yeah. My hammer.
Was that the only one? She's very casually. Oh yeah.
I've had a library of injuries over the years. But
what's your gnarliest one? Oh yeah, go talk about the hamburger helper for hand first, and then we'll keep going.
Yeah, you can queue up the visual if you would like.
Oh yeah, hold on, people, stand by. There's a video.
I can't wait. I love it.
Oh yeah,
I mean, because I know you're okay now. Because I love looking at the gnarly stuff.
I like, especially because we have some mountain bike folk on the chat. I would like to describe it as about 55 psi. What had happened was I was
that's a problem.
Like I don't have any knuckles anymore. Like that's just swollen.
Hurts fate, dude.
I couldn't type. Like I was laughing at myself in this video.
It looks like it was inflated, like someone inflated your hand.
Yes, like someone was like, and it like
Yeah.
blew up.
You poor thing. Look
I
at that.
punched a rock corner, not on purpose.
Who won?
We were sessioning this trail up at Kohler, just this little gap, and I, did the gap, and I got so excited. I feel like a lot of injuries. It's funny. We always work ourselves up when we're sessioning and we're like doing a feature. And I'm gonna say, most times I don't get injured when I'm actually sessioning. I get injured when it's something totally off guard. At least for me. I'm not gonna speak.
Wait, so what's off guard? Like you're just randomly
you're not
doing something?
Yeah, you're just doing something and it just something catches you off guard, right? Like versus
Got it.
when we're like sessioning something and I'm like, oh, I'm so scared. Okay, I'm gonna
You're dialed in, like you're focused, and you're
I'm gonna do this jump line, or I'm gonna do this. Like most of my falling down and getting hurt totally caught me off guard, and that was this. So I was got past the area where we were sessioning, and I was going so fast, like mock chicken, that I was totally off guard. Came through this corner really hot, probably was in a weird position, and just like kind of went over the bars, but my hand was still on the handlebar, and it got wedged between the corner and anyway, that's what happened. I don't even know why I fell down. That's what's scary too. If you have injuries where you're like, I really don't know what happened. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I really don't. I think I was just going way too fast and lost control. And I thought I broke my hand. Luckily I did not. I wonder if my hand might have saved my collarbone. So
from the
good.
pressure.
I don't know. But yeah, so I was off the bike. I couldn't do much with that hand for a while, and I had a trip lined up to go to Peru with World Ride.
Ooh.
And I asked the ortho because I had to go in for like some tests, and he's like, okay, you've severely damaged the fascia, but luckily somehow you haven't actually damaged any of like the ligaments or anything. And he's like, somehow you're
somehow
good, but
by
like,
miracle.
Yeah, and he was like, but the issue is, because I was like, am I gonna be good when I go on this trip? Because I want to be able to ride my bike. And he goes, I remember him saying like, if I tell you no, are you still gonna do it anyway? And I was like, probably. But he goes, the problem wasn't that I wasn't able to, right? Like I was able to, but the worry was that if I was to re-injure, so that was the issue. And I think part of me was kind of like, okay, I look back at like my history of riding and how often I get injured for this risk versus reward.
Yes.
Ride mountain biking is inherently risky, like anything can happen. But that was definitely, that's my most recent injury. Certainly not my worst, but definitely my most recent, and had me off the bike for, a couple weeks. So
it's it's always those little injuries of like you don't know how it happened that it happens. I'm sure like Candace and Becca, you have some of those as well. Like those are the scary ones because you're like, it didn't take any skill to do this. Like, how did I just screw something like this up? Jess, do you feel comfortable actually sharing what your most horrible injury was and how you overcame that?
So in my earlier days of mountain biking, well, there's kind of two. I think I told you about this one, Mia, where literally I grew up in the Northeast, and that's where I learned to ride. And in the fall, when the leaves fall onto the trail, and if it rains, they get really wet and slippery.
Right.
I was just riding with some friends, and I was, on this little, just a regular old trail, wasn't anything crazy. And I just lost traction, and I fell, and the fall actually wasn't that crazy. Like it wasn't like this epic, like I tumbled and no, like I literally just fell, but this was before I wore knee pads. So talking about protection, I slid and my knee just happened to connect with the sharpest rock on the trail. And I remember that day I ran out of, this was before like mountain bike clothing for women really advanced. And so I would just wear like black in the fall, it's cold. So I would just wear black tights under. That was a thing. But I had no more black tights. So I wore white tights. So stupid. I don't know why. White tights was my mom bought me these like running tights, and they were like my last pair in the drawer. So I was like, I'm gonna wear these white tights. Anyway, so I wore these white tights. I was a spectacle.
I love it.
So
I love
when
it.
I fell, all I remember was like, and I used to ride clipless. So I tried to like unclip from the pedal, and I just felt like my knee felt kind of janky. And I looked down at my white tights, and there was just like, it was ripped open, and I was like, oh no. And I look at my knee,
Oh no.
and I could see my patella, which is and I was like, oh no. And I grabbed my knee.
I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I was like, oh no. And I grabbed my knee. My friend was behind me. She goes, is everything okay? I was like, no.
Oh no.
I just saw my kneecap. And so anyway, that kept me off the bike for about, I don't know, 6 months or so. But luckily, and because it's on your knee and it's so bendy, they don't stitch that up. So I had to like steri strip it, and it was like a really deep puncture.
Dude.
Yeah,
I need another drink. I need another drink for
so
that
I
one.
have tonsillitis because of that injury. It'll flare up every now and then and gets really achy, and I have a huge scar on my knee from it. And so for the longest time I was like, knee pads always, knee pads every day, all day. And just recently I've started to like not wear knee pads as much.
Don't do it
here. But at the same time, there's always that thought in my mind of like, this is going to be the day where I get hurt again.
You just,
Don't wear knee pads.
This is the
Like
day
when I
that
fell
I
off-
meet my other patella.
Yeah, exactly. Like when I fell off the bike.
Yeah, when you see your kneecap, that's great.
Oh, that's disgusting. Johnny.
Oh, I want all the photos. I'm
No.
such a weirdo.
No. So Johnny's saying that he only rides in white tights, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, maybe I should bring it back. You know, maybe I should.
I mean,
Johnny-
it would be the quickest way to. It would be the quickest way to identify where the injury is, right? Like it'd be like, well, there it is.
You're an ER nurse, so you know, like y'all have to cut that stuff off, or you were.
Oh, we cut it all off, and that's the sad thing. It doesn't matter how much they beg, borrow, or plead. We got to cut off. We got to cut it
Yeah.
off.
So I had like pirate leggings after that, because I had like one long leg and one short white tights leg.
oh
I
my.
kept them for a while. I was like, I'm not getting rid of these. These are my.
Do you have photos? We need to bring this
I
back.
love it.
I bet in my mom's house. I have them.
So Johnny, who just commented, the poor guy, he lost the tip of his finger Mother's Day, but he wasn't riding his bike there. He wasn't riding his bike. No, he was on his boat. It was like a freak accident with his rope, with a rope, and it like took the top of his finger off. So love you, Johnny. We're gonna see him next month. We'll do a video with him when he's out here in California. Him and his wife are coming out. But he's hilarious. So how did you overcome that, Jess? Like, okay, patella's wide open.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I signed up for a marathon like a dum-dum. Like,
Because marathons are great for your knees.
right.
Right?
So Becca, when you're like, Northeast life as well,
Yeah.
where you're like, it's so this happened in the fall, right? So I had all winter where I was like injured, but also no one was really riding anyway. But my knee was so bad. I was hobbling around. I was like dragging my leg behind me. It was like
Like a pirate.
So
So
like
let's
a
run.
pirate. It was so swollen. My friend Amy, who's a physical therapist, at one point, she came over for dinner and she's like, listen, Jess, you need to bend the knee. Like Game of Thrones.
Yes. Bend the knee.
Bend the knee. I'm like, I don't want to bend the knee. She's like, you need to bend the knee. Because I was like so afraid. It was so swollen and I couldn't bend it. She's like, you need to start bending it. And I was like, no. She's like, well, I'll come over one night and maybe I'll help you. And I was like, okay. And she literally came over and she did a thing.
Bend the knee.
Like, oh my God! I bent the knee, but it was like
You bent the knee.
really, it was scary. So yeah, it was swollen for a long time. I signed up for a marathon in the winter because I was like feeling really down on myself. I was 26 too, so this is like 10 years ago.
Invincible, right? You're in like that invincible,
I'm
like
to run a marathon, and so I thought my thinking was by the time I'm healed up, I can start training, and then the marathon wasn't then until then the next fall. So And I just remember when that day came that I actually ran the marathon, I was smiling in all my photos because I was like, this is the last time I'm ever going to run. I hate running.
Running is stupid. I'm sorry for the
Running
people
is
that
stupid.
run.
Sorry, no. Bikes over running. You will never see a mountain biker with the same face as people that are running, because people that are running look miserable.
Yeah.
But here we go. She looked cute. She was smiling because she knew it was going to be your last time.
Last day ever to run.
Last time. Last time.
I just watched that movie Air a couple of days ago. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's a scene in there where Ben Affleck's character is a runner. And that's how he started Nike, because it was like a running shoe.
Mhm.
And he talks about how running is the best. Running is the destination or something like that, right? It's not the end goal. Like running is the destination. And I'm like, no, dude, that's not a thing. Like that's
Be
just not.
miserable till you get there. No, thank you. I'm going to have fun.
I like the
Sometimes you
runners
can be
actually-
miserable riding.
Yeah.
That's true. No, I mean, that's fair. There are components. There are aspects that are not the fun, but the rest of it is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. What did Johnny say? Exercise while sitting is what I always say.
Yeah.
Exercise while sitting. That's good. That's a
true.
good one. Becca, tell me, how are you feeling after your first ride over the weekend? Homegirl went to a bike park this weekend, and like
I
what?
did
What?
with a permission slip. I had a permission slip from my surgeon, so I did not make this up. This was unexpected. Ruptured my ACL in the fall, so the thing is, the way that I did this was on the dumbest, lamest corner I've ever.
That's
ridden.
how it happens.
Yeah.
It was just a corner. It was just a corner.
That's how it happens.
I wasn't trying to be cool. I wasn't trying to show off. It was just bright out and it was sunny, and I washed out.
It was
And
bright and it was sunny.
Oh no.
And I ruptured my ACL. And I felt this like crazy strong pain when and I had been like, the thing is, like, this was at Thunder Mountain. So like we're at Thunder Mountain out in Massachusetts. I'm hyping this place up. I'm like telling my friends, like, I can't wait to show you around and take you there. So of course I'm the one that's like leading, and I've already ridden this trail a million times. And it was just a connector. It's a blue connector trail. It's not like even a steezy show off, whatever. It just gets you from A to B. Go around the corner, wash out. And I'm like, oh no, this does not feel good. And I think I can just like shake it off, and I stand up and my knee starts to buckle. And I'm like, that's not supposed to happen.
Gross.
That's not supposed to happen at all. And I'm like, what's happening? Like, I try to get on the bike and I'm like, all right, the pain's gone at this point. So I'm like, whatever, just ride. My knee is like a noodle. It's like just buckling. And I'm like, this is not correct. So
I mean,
whatever.
what's worse? An ACL tear or a freaking patella showing through your knee? I mean, they're both just as bad in my
I didn't
opinion.
have to
They're
have
both like,
surgery.
wow.
I didn't have to have surgery. I was off the bike a while, but I didn't have to have surgery.
And that was the weird. So that's the weird thing about this injury. So I mean, I've had worse, gnarlier crashes trying to do something cool or trying to do something semi-dumb or whatever, that have had a worse outcome with less long-term impact. This was going around a corner. It hurt for a very short-term amount of time, but had a massively long-term impact. So by the time I got in to see ortho and my surgeon and all this stuff, and they're telling me, oh, your ACL is it just poof, it's gone. You just obliterated. It's ripped off your femur. And I'm like, I feel fine. Are you sure? I feel fine. Like, truly, I feel fine. Yeah, it buckles, but it's fine.
Yeah, it just buckles a little bit. No big deal. Like,
out. It turns
you
from
know.
an outie to an innie. It's fine.
Yeah.
But like, right. So I'm like, okay, but it doesn't hurt, right? Isn't pain your indicator of like something's wrong, something's going on? If it doesn't hurt, whatever, because I'm stubborn. And like, I completely disassociated from the ER nurse side of me. I was like, no, you're not going to think about logic or anything. You're over here. You want to ride bikes and you're going to continue to ride. Surgeon I met, he's like, look, you don't get this done, you're going to mess up your knee like long term. You got to get this done. You got to get this done now. He was a sports medicine surgeon, amazing. Took the time to learn what downhill mountain biking is, what my goals were. He's like, but you got to get this done. 9-month recovery to walk into a surgery where I feel fine was just a massive like blow of like, what do you mean I need to stay off for 9 months? I feel fine.
I feel
So it's
fine. It's just a
been-
noodle. My leg's just a noodle. Like, no big deal.
But I feel fine. But I can deal with a noodle. If I will show you
One
photos, I
away.
taped it up. I taped it with electrical tape to try to keep riding.
Nice.
And
Oh.
yeah, don't listen to me. No one listen to me.
Dude, that's commitment right there. Now that is like,
that medical
You
school.
had white tights that you could have put on.
what
Yeah,
did you
don't
say,
listen to me.
Candace?
I said, they teach you that in medical school, or
No, they certainly they teach you the opposite of what I did. They
It's
teach
like,
you the
roll up.
opposite. And I just ignored it because I was like, well, I'm not out here as a nurse. I'm out here as a mountain biker. So I'm going to do what I want as a mountain biker. And I'm lucky that I didn't re-injure myself. I listened to my surgeon. I got the surgery. And the greatest gift, now that you have heard what got me to this point, my stubbornness and inability to listen, greatest gift I gave myself after the surgery was to listen to my surgeon. And I followed his instruction to the letter, which is probably one of the first times I have ever fully committed to do so. But I felt like I had a very good relationship with my surgeon, that he had my end goal in mind. So I did the physical therapy. I listened to everything he said along the way.
And you did extra, right?
It sucked. And I did extra, and it sucked. So going in there at 7 months post-op, thinking I've got another 2 months to get the permission slip, and him saying, here's your permission slip. You're doing so good. You're doing so good. Your knee is so solid. I want you to get back out there to parks. I was crying. I was actually crying.
Yeah. It was so
And
good. You called me and I'm like, what's wrong?
I called Mia and I'm crying and I'm like, she's like, what? I'm like, I can ride my But I'm saying, listening to that, like listening to him, like following through, listening, doing all of that due diligence, doing my physical therapy, committed to the recovery, following the rules, which I am clearly not one to do.
Who'd have thunk? That's like, Jess, you need to bend your knee. I'm not bending my knee, but you need to bend your knee. Nope,
Yeah.
not going to do it.
Tell me to
Got to ride this weekend and I felt great.
Trail Pimp is in the comments here, and he says that he had ACL reconstructive surgery 5 times on his left knee. 5 times. That's insane.
And there were some horror stories. So I had a ton, and ladies, I'm sure all of you have had people in your ear about your recovery and what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Well, this is what I did, and this is what was better. When I was committed to that 9-month recovery after my surgeon said, this is what I want you to do, I committed to it. I had people, I was out there after 3 months after my ACL. I was out there after this long. Just do this, just do that. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna. I was so scared of re-injury. I still am scared of re-injury, but trusting that voice, I don't know. Trust
See, and that goes back to like what Candace was saying. It's trusting yourself. It's being on the trail. It's like being okay mentally, because that's the biggest block that we face, is that mental barrier of like, I have the skill, I know how to do it. But sometimes when you injure yourself with like the silliest of things, you question yourself and you're like, how? What? Why?
For sure.
And I think it's just proof that like my worst injury was on going around a corner. Like there was truly, I wasn't being reckless. I wasn't being like, I was well within my skill set. I wasn't doing any, like the conditions were prime. Like this was like the perfect loam. What are you going to do? I mean,
it happens, right?
Like mentally obsessed with the area that I crashed in, that I started using like middle gap, or what was it called? Middle gate. I was like finding the trail online and watching riders hit the gap. And then my husband was like, you absolutely have to stop torturing yourself. I don't know why you're obsessive.
Yes.
Gap. And I'm like, because I couldn't remember how big it was or something. And then like it was messing with my head. And I was like, I don't know.
I think we feel like we have to know why we crashed. I think we have to try to identify the exact reason why we crashed I was all brakes, or I was this, or I was too hot, or too this. I mean, crashes happen in this sport though. Like they happen as we're trying to progress in this sport. And as long as you're not being reckless or making completely unsafe decisions, I feel like that's part of being involved in this sport.
Yeah, 100%. But I also think from my experience, it's like, where did I go wrong? And I don't know if
Mhm.
maybe that's where Candace is probably thinking about it. It's like, where did I go wrong? But then you're just replaying that horrible scenario in your head like over and over and over.
Oh,
And you can't do that, because
I
if you
think
do that,
it's-
you're not going to move forward. You're not going to
Yeah.
get out of your head, you know?
So true.
I think it's
Wants to go back on that trail too, and definitely not hit that gap. I may hit another gap another day. I can
Yeah.
say I don't think I'll ever approach that gap, but I want to go back and redeem myself on the trail because, I don't know. There's just
Let's
something
do it.
irritates me that like I didn't even get to finish the ride, and so I'm just like,
Mhm.
oh, like now I gotta go back.
All right, new plan. The next Sedona Mountain Bike Festival, we're going to meet in Tucson, the 4 of us, and anyone else who wants to join, including the Tucson Lady Shredders. And we're all going to ride that ride. And we're all going to say F the gap jump, and we're going to go around it. Because I personally, I don't feel comfortable doing jumps. It's something I want to feel comfortable doing. But I ride flats, and I've slipped so many times in flats that I need to work on that. It's just something I need to work on. And I always have Jess in the back of my mind when she once taught us the bowl theory of like, you know, keeping your feet. So I always think of that. But no,
The
Candace,
wedges.
we're doing it. We're doing it. I don't care. We're doing it next
Yeah.
time you're there.
I think so.
Redemption 100%.
And I think that
100%.
is so important when you are returning from an injury is surrounding yourself with people that support you and understand that your return to riding is your own story. It's your own process. And it doesn't matter
Yes.
what anyone else has done or oh, you think
Yes.
that's bad. I've been through this crash or that crash or whatever. It's your story. It's your process. So
100%.
let's just like the goal. And this is what helped me get through this past weekend. It's like, have fun out there on bikes and surround yourself with people that support you having fun on bikes. And nothing more than that. And whatever, you know, if there's something you want to push yourself to try to do, then those are the people to be with. But it's never about like, well, now you got to go back and do something bigger or something more, or you've got to do whatever. Like, no.
Yeah.
It's about just riding and having fun. That's it.
So,
you know?
Have you guys been, aside from Jess, because she can already gonna answer this question, but have you ladies ever witnessed an accident, a mountain biking injury, accident, whatever, that was really gross? And Jess, you don't need to answer this question, but
This past week or whatever.
Oh, I've seen some new ones too.
like, how do you react to that? Because, you know, Jess did a good point. She's like, you got to stay calm. Your friend asked if she lost her teeth. No, your teeth are all there, dude. Like, you're good to go, right? But like, you got to be calm. You got to be calm for the other person. So what's the gnarliest one that you guys have seen? And Jess, if you have a new one, like, tell us a new one. But go ahead, Becca, what's a gnarly like crash that you've been present for?
So me responding to gnarlyism is a little different because I kind of like welcome it. And I'm like, yes, okay. Not that I want people to get into gnarly situations.
Okay, weirdo.
But I know. I own it. But this was great. So I was at Blue Mountain. So I was at the park. I was at this weekend, and there is a trail system there called Empire, Upper Empire and Lower Empire. Every single day it will claim someone. Every single day. At least one person gets claimed by that trail and sent out in an ambulance.
Oh.
I was there with my group of 3 friends. And guess which one? There was one of us that it was claimed. So she was the last one in this. It was not me. It was the last one of us in this, you know, we were riding down this and I said, look, we're just going to do this. We're going to scout these jumps. These jumps are huge, like approaching a wall. And you're like, how am I going to do this?
No.
How am I going to hop up this? How am I going to like just roll this?
I'm gonna just I'm not doing that.
Right. So, but I said, we're just going to scout it. We're just going to roll it. We're just going to scout it. And we talked about the plan ahead of time, whatever. My one girl freaking sent it deep. She was knocked out cold. So I hear like the jingle of the crash, like behind me, you know, where you think you hear something and you wait and you do this, like, you good?
You're alive.
It's almost like you're falling back. Like, you there? You good? And you don't hear anything. You good? Oh shit. And you throw your bike down and you're running back. And I see her at like the bottom of this valley and she's out cold. And then these, like a bunch of these like 15-year-old Grom rippers approach. And they were the ones that were right there. So they were there with her when I finally like hiked my bike back up. And I just go down and I'm like, okay, you call 911. Just takes off running down the mountain without his bike. Just takes off running. He was going to call 911 on foot. So he just takes off running. Just takes off running like down the mountain. The other guy is like, like literally running in circles around us. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And I'm like, calm down. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. My other friend was the one that was like, am I calling? I'm like, you're calling. And so she calls and she's like, where are we? I'm like, we're on Blue Mountain. Where? Who? You know, so this is where it's like important to have, because they're from out of town, have the emergency number in your phone, know who you're calling. It was, I don't know what happened to the kid that ran down the mountain. I never saw him again. Hopefully he found
did he find
911.
Oh no.
Did someone? Yeah, what happened to your friend? When did she wake up from?
She was okay. She was okay. She was out for over 4 minutes. She was completely knocked out for over 4
Dude,
minutes.
that's scary.
She had no long-term injuries. She was CAT scanned, fully scanned. She was fine. She was discharged,
completely knocked out.
massively concussed. So she
That's-
was pretty out of it for a couple of weeks, but overall she was physically, externally intact.
Jesus.
Whew.
Oh my. Okay, that's a gnarly story. Thank you for sharing, Becca. And I'm glad your friend's okay there, because that's the most important thing. Like
She's okay. Yeah.
bike rides are dangerous. Well, mountain biking is dangerous in general.
Don't
Sonia-
send it. Scout the lines that you're not sure of. Scout the lines. Just chill. You don't know what it's gonna look like.
Sonia Perez, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. She said you guys were all together last week for a crazy crash. What happened?
We had oh yeah, Candace, you were there too. So I coach locally here in Bentonville for 2 organizations, Women of Oz and then the Ride Series. And for Women of Oz, we have a lot of women ride leaders or BICP1 level instructors. And so I was coaching an internal clinic for WAS ride leaders and instructors. So Candace and Sonia were in this one group where we were actually I think it was towards the beginning of the actual clinic. And we all kind of saw this one guy start on Thunderdome, which is a dual slalom kind of like jump. Like it's a dual slalom track that goes all the way down and super fun, blue line. And we all kind of, at one point, someone, I was behind me. So I remember someone saying like, that guy doesn't even have a helmet on. We look, no helmet. So we're like, oh no. And it's like, what do you say at that point? Do you like, I mean, he was already going, right? We're like, oh no, look at that guy. And then
You're like, hey, idiot, put a helmet on.
I just feel like adult, you've made that choice for yourself, you know.
He was an adult.
Candace is like, no sympathy.
I scream after them. I scream after them every time I see it. And I'm like, where is the expletive is your helmet?
No.
Just
And
stare at him like.
He's lucky because he only broke his arm. But it was like he came walking up the sidewalk and his arm was like dangling. And we were all like, well, another rider was pointing at me, like pointing at me. And I was like, why is this man? Does he want to fight?
Yeah.
Does he want to fight me right now?
You.
I was like, yeah, come at me. Come at me. You want to fight? Anyway, he wasn't pointing at me. He was pointing at me to help because behind me was this poor guy with his arm all broken. It was dangling.
With a noodle arm.
Candace was like, nope.
She's like, I done this.
In a panic moment, I am trapped in a panic moment. So
So we all took care of
like
him.
that. And I was like, I think y'all got it. And I like turned around. Also, we're about to start a jump clinic and this dude's coming up with a broken hand. Are you freaking kidding me?
Dude, you gotta. Well, that's the thing is like, there's a million people. There's resources there. You gotta respect your process. Like, I'm about to go into this. I do not need this in my energy. Goodbye.
Oh,
Exit.
God.
Bigged out. I was like, oh man, like.
Not blaming you there at all.
Honestly,
Not blaming you there.
I forgot about this, Candace, but
Oh,
one of the
God.
first clinics I ever went to was put on by Karen Brooks. This was back in Pennsylvania a long time ago when there used to be a festival
Yay.
called Dirt Fest.
Oh,
And
yes.
I took a clinic and Karen was coaching, and one of the ladies in our group we were just sessioning this like steep climb, and she fell, luckily not to the like down slope, but to the up slope, but she like put her arm down, straight up broke her arm, and we were all like, And then, she was taken away in the ambulance. And I remember Karen very distinctly being like, okay, who's next? we're like, are we still having this clinic? Or
Just breaking into corners instead.
I saw,
That's awesome.
My buddy Ryan had said, shouldn't mountain bikers have auto deploying airbags? Like, that would be awesome.
That would be amazing.
Maybe like a vest that like when you sense that that like G, like that negative G, like leaving the bike, it's like, whoa. Yeah.
You know what? Today I went on Evox website because I'm looking for a bike bag.
Yeah.
And I'm like trying to find whatever. And they have that. They have like a commuter airbag that it's for commuters versus like mountain bikers. But the whole idea is that you can put like almost like a vest, an air vest around you. And the photo was like someone falling like this with the thing on here. I need to find that and post it on here for you guys to see, but it was hilarious.
I need this.
You need this for your video. Hold on. Let me see. Hold on.
I'll add it to my collection. Oh, Ryan says they have. Huh. I feel like
Mia.
I need to add this to my collection along with my bubble wrap suit. So
your bubble wrap suit.
Mia,
yes, Becca.
When we get the chance, we've all shared one of our gnarliest crashes that we've either endured or witnessed. I know that you've had kind of a close call with a cactus. I think this is the perfect. I think this is the platform to discuss this and break it down.
I've had a few cactus.
Oh God.
Thanks, Becca. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I just want to ensure that you are, we all deserve a seat at the table. We all deserve to have a voice. You've been doing such a great job moderating this conversation.
So the gnarliest crash I've ever had was a few years ago with my friend Danielle. I'm riding in Santa Barbara, but I'll tell this one before I talk about the cactuses. I was riding in Santa Barbara, and those of you here in California, not northern, like central California, it's called Romero Canyon. And here I am not knowing crap about downhill enduro. Like this is when I was just doing cross country and I thought this is awesome. I had like 100 travel mill bike for a double black diamond like trail. So I'll just start with that. Okay.
Like, oh, sweet summer child. Oh
yeah. Oh yeah. This was like 4 years ago too. It wasn't that long ago. Because I had just gone to Sedona and I fell in love with riding there, and I'm doing like the green trail in Sedona, which granted can be difficult, right? And I'm thinking, yeah, I could do that. So I met Danielle, and she's like a really amazing downhill enduro racer. Like the goal is fast. She's really good. And so I'm trying to keep up with this girl, and I'm like so scared doing this trail because mainly I'm very scared of heights. And in this trail, the trail is like this wide. And then there's like a 60-foot cliff, like to your side. And it's very steep and chunky. So anyway, I fell. I thought I broke my collarbone. I went over the handlebars. Like it was so steep that I couldn't even like pull myself back up. And thankfully she is a nurse. So she stopped. She came back and she was like, what hurts? And I had a cramp on my calf, and I'm like, my calf really hurts, and she's like, you just took a gnarly crash and your calf is what hurts you? Like anyway, I didn't break anything, but I did have like a really gnarly like road rash and stuff. So I've only done that trail once since that happened, and I was on my Rascal, so it handled it really well, and I got redemption. But then I washed out towards the end, and I was like, screw this trail. I'm never doing this again. I hate it. Plus, it's like,
you know what? It's the conditions. Yeah.
It's a 4-mile climb to get up there, and I'm not about that life. So
e-bike life.
Yeah. But the cactus. Okay, so I was riding in Sedona. I was on that big loop, like the green trail in Sedona, which is absolutely so much fun. And it was like my second time riding it. It was on that crappy 100 travel bike that I had. 100 mil travel bike. And I was straddling my bike, both feet on the ground, and I grabbed my handlebars and I was just lifting it to go over this like little rock section. And as I did that, I lost balance. And it was one of those slow motions, like,
oh, no. Those are the worst.
and my entire thigh went on a cholla cactus. And my wife was laughing so hard because she's like, "Are you okay?" And I kicked my bike and I'm like, "No, I'm not okay." I was like screaming.
Was there still cholla like all up in your butt and stuff?
All like
all
from
up
my
in her butt.
knee, from my knee, dude, all the way to my butt, like down my entire thigh. I have photos of it. I'll send it to you later. And so then I pull my pants down in the middle of the trail. And Lauren's like picking stuff out of my leg. And I said, "Let's go home." She spent like an hour on the couch trying to pull like cactuses from my thing. So that was the first cactus incident. And I'll just leave it at that one. So.
Stay tuned for part 2 when we do the next installment of this series.
Candace, that was when you came with me the whole Tucson. That was your first time riding in no, it wasn't. You've ridden in the desert before.
I rode in Virgin.
Okay. You were like really concerned about cactus. I remember the whole time you're like, I don't want to run into a cactus. The whole time was just very,
Yeah, that was like my biggest fear out there. I was like, oh, I don't want to because I do happen to like lose balance, and I'm a pretty like clumsy rider. I feel like my knee pads get locked in my pedals a lot, and like I just do some dumb shit, and I just I roll into a like I just know it's gonna happen, and ended up that didn't happen at all, and just biffed it on my face. So
you skipped the cactus introduction and just went right to Arizona in the face. But
there's no intro level to falling here for Candace. It's just straight out expert.
Yeah.
Well, you guys will all be able to give me a learning curve when I head out that way. Jess, East Coast riding. I'm used to lots of rocks and shale and loose whatever, but I'll be riding West Coast in July with Mia, and then whenever I catch up with at the Sedona Fest, when that's going to be, wait to see me. I am the queen of crashing, man. I am the queen of fun, the queen of crashing. I own it. I am fine with that. Let me crash, let me fall.
Listen, falling is
good.
Right.
And don't follow Becca's lines. It's because
don't follow Becca's lines. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, I'm actually I think I actually take good lines. I think I just make poor decisions on those lines.
I gotta say, this is no offense to any of you, but the only people I've ever felt comfortable following the lines was the ladies in Sedona. I didn't think I rode behind you, Jess, when we were in Sedona, but Amaranth and Joanna are the only two people that they looked at me in different rides I did with them, and they were both like, "Just follow my lines. You got this."
Those are two people I would trust with my life in Sedona.
I agree with that for sure, especially in those type of conditions.
People.
Yeah, you couldn't get any better than that.
Yeah, you couldn't get better than those two. So
let's see if there's anyone on the comments here. Everyone's saying, "Oh, they had Denise said she had a slow motion rock garden fall when she took her e-bike out for the first time." Oh, dude, I hope you're okay. She fell into a thorn bush. That's not fun either.
Yeah. I feel like the slow motion ones are sometimes the worst because it's kind of like you're becoming aware of your own. I'm using ineptitude as like my own self-reflection, but when you're having a slow motion crash, it's kind of like, oh, we're gonna do this. Yeah, I'm beyond the point of no return. I'm watching this approach me. This is great. I can't wait to see what on my body I damage and what on my frame I damage. So can't wait to see the end result of this.
From clipless to flats.
Yeah, me too.
That's been a big conversation we've been having lately on some of our last episodes and stuff.
Think there's anything I think to each their own. I don't think one's better than the other, but I think as a beginner, I don't know why I started there.
Interesting.
Everyone did then.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
No, I'm with you. I was on them too. Yeah.
And I was like, we do, and then that was most of my crashes were because of not being able to unclip from the pedal and just falling over.
That's gnarly. Yeah, my friend Daniela, I told her I was riding with, she would always send me videos of like, this is why you don't ride clipless, and it was like someone doing something crazy and the bike like stuck to their foot. It's great. Trail Pip, if you're listening, we're going to be up at, I don't know if we're doing Snow Summit anytime soon or Snow Valley, but we're going to be at Sky Park the next couple of weeks. Then Becca's coming out for July 15th for Ride and Shine. All of everyone in Southern California, come out, support a really good cause. Ride and Shine with a bunch of other content creators. We were trying to get Jess out too, but I think you got some other stuff going on. And we will plan it. So next year you and Candace can come out. Oh, and Tony too. I mean, I
guess Tony's invited. Well,
I guess
I'm coming to the East Coast, so hopefully I'll catch you when you get back.
Yes.
Nice.
East Coast bound.
Yeah, you're going for a while, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm escaping that
Yay.
Northwest Arkansas heat.
I love it. We'll be linking up for sure. We'll be on the East Coast side of Women's MTV Network. Let's go.
Yeah, I need to get out there too. Try and make it happen. We'll try and make it happen. Ladies, thank you so much for joining. I know we went a little over. I was trying to hope for an hour. We went a little over, but I appreciate you guys telling your stories and talking to us about it and laughing, even though there's traumatic things that have happened to us. But we are resilient, strong women, and we love the sport. So, and our community is amazing, right? Like just how we support each other and how we're always there for each other. Like our community is so good. Thanks to everyone who showed up and watched and commented. We really, really appreciate it. This is the first time we've tried doing like a live podcast, and I'm stoked that Candace, Jess, and Becca were all able to come and chat with us. And yeah, thank you guys. Have a great night.
Yeah, y'all. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right, y'all. If you have any questions for either three ladies, just leave comments below and we'll get it to them. But go on their Instagram and YouTube. I have the link on our Instagram, so go over there and find them. And don't forget to subscribe to Jess's new YouTube channel because she's hilarious. And she has a bunch of content. It's called Dirt Scouts. So
yes, Dirt Scouts.
That's nice. Thank you.
All right, y'all. Have a great night. We'll talk soon. See you later. Bye.
See ya.
Okay. Hey, that worked.